hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Paranormal Portal, Bedtime Stories From Beyond. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. I'm absolutely thrilled you guys are here. Thank you for being here with me and going through the night. Here I am. Hey, Beth says in the chat, "Where's Brent?" I'm here. Here I am. Ta-da! You asked, and therefore I appeared. You manifest me. I'm here to entertain, of course. So, good to see everybody. Thank you all for coming in and being a part of the show. I'm just kind of getting my my bearings under me. Been busy as hell all day. We have a new formula for the podcast. It has a lot more production value to it, which means it's a hell of a lot more work, but which means I'm a little overwhelmed right now. So Superman shirt it is. Yep. I'm trying to at least embody it in spirit. I got the body, or no, I got the shirt. Now I need the body. But I'm pumped. Thank you. I'm here all night. So welcome everybody. Hope you're having a great, hope you've had a great weekend. It's, of course, Sunday night, and we're moving ever closer to the week beyond that night. And just remember, be positive, think positively, and try to manifest a wonderful day on your Monday. So, hope you're all ready. The phone lines will be open all night. 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. Call now. But wait, there's more. You can also email me at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. That is right, paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. Good to see you, Duke. Thanks for coming on in right away. It's always comforting to see the mods present. Not that we ever have any trouble in this chat. We've actually had a wonderful chat, but it's always nice to know there's that added layer, those added eyes, and actionable eyes at that. So, all right, guys, I hope you're ready because it's time for bed. The Duke is the troll crusher. Get to the chopper. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bedtime Stories From Beyond. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and we are now underway. I think we are underway as I can get it anyway. The only thing left to do, of course, is to start reading, but I wanted to welcome everybody that's here. I see more and more keep piling in, and it's great to see you all. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of our shows. It's just incredibly cool and humbling, and I'm just honored to see all of you here. Well, Chacha's here, so now the show can go on. I was just waiting for it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm glad to see you, though. It's wonderful to see all of you guys here. Thank you so much. So I got some stories lined up for you guys tonight. Again, please pay attention to the podcast tomorrow. I think you're gonna like it. I think you're gonna dig the new vibe to the stories when we do stories. Of course, when we do interviews and all that, there won't be quite all this extra fluffy stuff, but I just think it really brings things to life, and it's really cool, and I'm just absolutely thrilled to be undertaking it, because it'll definitely raise the value of the podcast. Just, I don't know, it just really brings the stories to life. It kind of mimics the golden age of radio, and hopefully that translates to the listener. I hope it does. I know it's a lot of work, so I'm hoping that it's appreciated. But I guess time will tell. If you're a subscriber to our podcasts, then please let me know tomorrow what you guys think after the show airs. I may put a teaser up on YouTube tonight yet. It'll be one of the stories that'll appear on the show tomorrow. But you can hear what we're doing and how we're trying to breathe these stories to life. So hopefully you're into it. It's something Don and I are going to be working really hard on for a lot of the episodes in the future. So we're just trying to keep it growing, and it's been growing great, but it's kind of like plateaued now. I mean, there's thousands of people listening to it every episode, which is awesome, and it's just humbling as hell. But we want to make that tens of thousands. So we got to get there. And it's going to take some more work on our part to make sure it stands out. It is time for bed. But I'm just, I'm kind of gum running, I guess. Am I monologuing too much? Sorry, guys. Just a lot on my mind. But I got a story right here ready for you, and it comes from New Jersey. So let's see what's going on in New Jersey. This story happened to my wife, and we were living in an apartment complex in Maple Shade, New Jersey. One evening, she reluctantly tells me of what happened to her the night before, only because she really had no explanation for it for herself. In the middle of the night, she says, she had a very vivid dream, as if she was witnessing someone's entire life through their eyes. An older Italian gentleman's life was being seen like a photo album flipping its pages. Everything of importance in one's life, from first communion, graduations, first kisses, marriage, birth of kids, and deaths, were all being felt and seen. In my fiance's mind, all through the classic song of Sea of Love, at the end a voice tells my wife, "I know she is very sick." What or who or what he's talking about, my wife nor I have any idea. She did wake up only to the faint smell of a cigar smoke. On the very rare occasion I might smoke a cigar, never had I done it in the apartment. Now, it's a small street-level one-bedroom apartment, so as you walk out the bedroom, the bathroom is to the left and the living room and dining room is on the right. And at night, there is a lamppost outside my apartment that shines through the separations of the living room curtain and blinds, and it reflects on one of our living room walls, which you can notice as soon as you walk into the living room from that bedroom. Excuse me. As she walked out of the bedroom, she said she saw a silhouette of a man by the wall where the light was being reflected, but the strange thing is that she felt the shadow she saw was on the wall itself. It was not being reflected from an outside source. Being that she couldn't believe what she was seeing, she turned her head towards the living room window just to make sure no peeping Toms were out there, which she could tell. But she turned back towards the shadowy figure, and he was gone. She ran to the window and opened the curtains, but nobody was there. Nobody was standing by the window to cast the shadow she saw. The person would have had to be leaning on the window, let alone pretty much in the apartment, and that has never happened again. Later on, we started thinking of who could have visited when we came across her best friend's grandmother-in-law, Helen, passed away later that summer, and she had been very sick for a while, and her son, my wife's best friend's father-in-law, had been taking care of his mother until she passed. Helen's husband passed a while ago, and we never have seen pictures of him, so we don't really know if it was him. Who could be reaching with that one? We could be reaching with that one. I don't know what that means. My wife also gets visits in her dreams from her grandmother, who passed in 2003, and I believe in the paranormal, but I've never heard of anything like this. Asking for any explanation or any similar experiences so I can explain it to my wife. Is she sensitive to the paranormal? I think we all are. I think the answer to this one is we all are. And, of course, in our dream states, we're much more receptive than any other states. We just happen to be more open, I think, in those conditions. And so if a spirit has something to share, that's got to be the easiest way to do it, because I think we're existing mostly as spirit when we dream. We're mostly in our spiritual state, believe it or not, even though we're having these weird dreams that don't seem to make any sense. But, I know I've experienced these things. I've actually had an experience 2 times very similar to what this person is describing, of seeing an entire life in one of my dreams 2 times, 2 very different lives, but it happened twice in my dreams, and it was like I was dreaming for years and decades. It was just like it just kept going on and on and on and on, and I was incredibly well rested by the time I woke up, because it was like I was sleeping forever. I mean, it felt like it. But I had and I still have it in my mind. I can still recall very clearly what was shown to me, and I don't know. I don't know what was going on. I don't know if it was a past life of mine, or if it was me being shown something by another being. I couldn't tell you, but it was a very intense experience. True stories. Always true stories here on the Portal, ladies and gentlemen, because I don't like making stuff up. All right, so the next one, coming from Texas, another medium-sized story. It says, when I was a kid, my best friend's older brother would babysit us when my parents went out. We'd watch The Terminator. To give you an idea how long ago it was typical for me to pass out on the couch. One particular night, I woke up in the middle of the night, and I sat up and looked over the back of the couch into the dining room to see if I could catch a glimpse of what time it was. To my surprise, there was a little girl staring at the far end of the table. She looked to be about 7 years old, and she was wearing a dress, and she has this green ambience to her. I wanted to talk to her because she was sitting there staring off into space. She didn't really even seem to notice me looking at her. I couldn't muster up the courage to talk to her, so I laid back down and tried to go back to sleep. And about an hour later, I looked up over the couch again, and she was in a different chair, this time facing my direction, but her head was down, looking at something on the table. I watched her silently to see if she would do something, and she sat there for a long time, then eventually got up and walked through the wall into the backyard. Wow. Once she was gone, I turned on the lights and investigated the area she'd been in, and the room was a lot colder than the living room. But other than that, there was no sign of her doing anything in particular. I went back to sleep, and that was the last time I saw her. The only other incident that was when me and the neighbor kids were camping out in my backyard on our trampoline. We had a ton of blankets and pillows out there, and we're just goofing off late one night. And we had 2 really large oak trees in the back. One had a beehive in the trunk, and someone had cemented the hole shut in what I assume was an attempt to trap them. We would always mess with the hive for fun. We were dumb kids, and we always threw rocks at in the hole or something to taunt the bees, and then we go running off and get away from them, and it was our form of entertainment. Well, we're all sitting on the trampoline telling jokes and whatnot, and we heard a loud boom, and a bright ball of light shot out from the tree up into the sky, zoomed back around way above us, and then came slamming back down into the tree. It scared the crap out of us at first, and we stayed up all night to see if it would happen again. To our disappointment, nothing happened at all. The weird thing is, there is a knot in the side of the tree that looks just like a human skull. It's probably just a coincidence, but it was our outlet for imagining what it could have been. I'm not sure if anyone else has ever seen anything like this. I almost forgot about it until I found this site, and I'm not a believer of orbs or anything significant, because those who claim to have taken photos of them don't seem to be trying to photograph them in the first place. So I come to the conclusion that it's just a light reflection in the lens of a camera. This incident was different, though. I'm not sure I want to call it an orb. It was a bright ball of light that seemed to move around sporadically, and it was loud and bright. Any ideas? This all happened before the mommy ego stuff. Oh, this is that same person. Wow. I don't know. That's pretty intense. There's oftentimes reports of these glowing orbs in forests, and they're really pretty common, not extraordinarily common, but there seems to be some form of this in every part of the nation that has these weird ghost balls, ghost lights, and there's so much lore built around them, like the old conductor on the railroad tracks, the abandoned railroad tracks, the people, the miners running from the mine into the forest with their lanterns, and et cetera, et cetera. I mean, there's so many apocryphal tales built around these lights, but what if these lights are actually originating from the trees? And then what does it mean? I don't know. Is there a spiritual presence in each and every tree? I don't know. Maybe that's something about it. Maybe that's a sylph or a dryad of some sort. What the ancients called sylphs or dryads, I don't know. But it seems to be a phenomena that's that people continue to report. And what is it? We don't know. Nobody knows. But that's I guess that's the hard part about the paranormal, is that it's been around for as long as we've been around, and yet the explanations are just as fantastical now as they were 1,000 years ago. It's not like we're making a whole lot of progress on this, except now at least we can track things like EVP and EVPs from recorders, and we can find EM fields, which is good, and can maybe show a presence, and so we're developing tools that are kind of assisting us with this, but it is pretty curious. I don't know. What do you guys think? You'll have to let me know. But I think the spirit orbs are really, really incredible, especially the ones in the forest. Now, again, I'm not a big fan of photographed orbs. I don't think that most of them are anything more than dust or other anomalies. I just think it's, not paranormal, just maybe insects by a lens, or a piece of dust in the air reflecting off the flash or something. There's just a lot of really mundane explanations for most of them. And even if it maybe doesn't perfectly define what you're seeing, like it doesn't really look like a dust ball, but it kind of could be a dust ball, everybody's always going to default to dust ball, because the mundane is comfortable. It's more comfortable than saying, wow, you just captured a bunch of spirits on your film or on your camera. So everybody will always default to the less threatening explanation. And, I guess it's human nature. I guess I probably would too, but I can't help that. I have an open mind, but I also have a logical mind. So I can't shake that. I can't just suspend belief or suspend logic for the sake of belief, So, excuse me. Hold on a sec. I do apologize for the background noise, but I got the fan running, so I should probably position it maybe on the other side of the desk, blowing up my skirt. Blowing the winds up my skirt. All right. Or at my kilt, whatever a man's skirt is. I don't have a skirt on. I'm just kidding. I have shorts. But anyway, let's continue on. Okay. So let's see what's going on in Louisiana, which is next, ladies and gentlemen. Jeez, I'm froggy. I've been reading stories for a couple hours now, so I'm a little froggy already. Sorry about that. All right, Louisiana. Let me start by saying that I grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana, and from living down there all those years, I can tell you that there isn't much I haven't seen. When I was 13 years old, my father, my brother, and my grandmother and I moved out of the apartments we were living in and into a house on the outskirts of the city. It was a nice house and I liked it a lot, but at times things would happen that would really scare me. The first thing we noticed about the house was that the front porch and the entrance to the front door was like a big ramp, like it was designed for somebody in a wheelchair. It must have been about a week after we moved in, and it was during the end of summer, around August, and in the summer I get bad allergies and hay fever, and I gotten sick that day and I went to bed early at around 6 o'clock in the evening. My father had gone out, so had my grandmother, and my little brother was staying at a friend's house back in our old neighborhood, so I was alone, which didn't bother me because I really do like being alone. So it must have been around 9 or 10 that night when I heard this loud banging noise. It woke me up abruptly and it kind of scared me. So I get up out of bed and walk around the house looking for what's making that noise, and as I walk into the kitchen, I can tell that the noise is coming from outside. Our kitchen faced our backyard, so as I looked out the window, I could see the whole yard. Off in the corner of the yard, we had this old aluminum-sided shed, and now it's pretty dark out there, and I was half asleep and sick and tired and just flat out disoriented, but I was absolutely positive of what I was looking at. It was a little girl. She had her back to me, and she was banging on the shed as hard as she could. She was wearing a little dress with big polka dots, and there was this big bow tie on her back of her dress, and she had pigtails in her hair. Well, I couldn't help but laugh at this, and I figured that since we were new to the neighborhood, some of the neighborhood kids were just messing with us, so I just blew it off and went back to bed, and I never thought of it again and never mentioned it to anyone. And then, about a month or two after that, school had started, and I was in bed because it was a school night, and my little brother comes running into my room, jumps on my bed with me, and now you have to understand something. I have never known my brother to be scared of anything. He fears nothing. So when I see him all freaked out like that, on my bed shaking and crying, I was scared to death. I asked him what happened, and at first he couldn't even talk. I just sat there and held him until he calmed down, and then he finally told me that he said he had woken up to use the bathroom, and as he got out of his bed, he said it felt really cold, and he just felt weird, like someone was watching him. So he turned on his little lamp, and he looked around his room, and he saw a little girl standing in the corner of his room staring at him. He said that her face was all messed up, like someone had beat her with a bat. Half of her face was all smashed in, and she was wearing a polka dot dress. And the dress was all muddy and torn, and she was just staring at him. Well, when he told me that, I was definitely freaked out. That had to have been the same girl I saw that night, but I never thought that she was a ghost or anything. I just thought she was a regular girl. Needless to say, my brother and I decided to keep that to ourselves, and we didn't want to tell anyone because we were scared that they would make fun of us, but it seems like the more we tried to pretend it didn't happen, the more she would mess with us, and it wasn't just her. There was someone else here too. And I could never see him, but I could always hear his wheelchair late at night. And I could hear him grunting in frustration, like he was trying to get out of his wheelchair or something. All sorts of little things would happen. I'd be watching TV in the living room, and I'd hear a little girl whisper something that I'd hear a little feet running across the kitchen floor. One time I was in the shower, and I was home alone, and so I left the bathroom door open. Out of nowhere, the lights in the bathroom went out, and the door slammed shut. I was so freaked out. I didn't know what to do. And things didn't just happen to me and my brother. I had friends that would be at my house and tell me things too. My friend Eric spent the night at my house, and one night, and he was sleeping on the floor next to my bed, and he said that something kept touching his face. And when he opened his eyes to see it, it was a little hand, like the hand of a child coming out from under the bed. Oh, that's creepy. Yeah, after that, I didn't sleep in my room for a while. But what I thought was odd was that she never messed with my grandmother. Or if she did, my grandmother just never mentioned it. She never really messed with my father either, except for one night. I had a couple of friends over and we're watching TV in the living room, and my father had to work the next day. So he was in his room sleeping. Well, out of nowhere, he comes running out into the living room yelling at me. And I was like, Dad, what's your problem? Why are you screaming at me? And he told me to stay out of his room and leave him alone. When he's sleeping, he's tired and has to get up early. Well, I was a bit confused. The next day I asked him why he did that, and he said that he was sleeping and he felt someone breathing on him, so he turned to look, but it was so dark all he could see was a dark figure, and it kicked his bed and ran out of the room. He assumed it was me playing around with him, but I knew who it was, and it made the hair on the back of my neck stand straight up when he told me that. That's pretty much it for that. I never saw the girl again, but you didn't have to see her to know that she was there. She obviously loved attention and would try to get it from whoever was around. And as for the wheelchair man, I asked some people in my neighborhood about that, and they told me that some old guy used to live there by himself, and yes, he was in a wheelchair. I asked some of them if he had a granddaughter or if ever there was a little girl that lived there, and they said no. They never saw any girl there, but they found that question odd because there was a little girl that lived in that neighborhood years ago that went missing. Some people believe the old man that the old man that was in the wheelchair had lured her into his house, and well, who knows? They said that the police investigated the missing girl, but she was never found. The old man lived in the house by himself, and he was supposedly kind of weird. So they questioned him without any probable cause, and he filed a complaint against them, and that was the end of that. I never knew what to think about all of this. I even contemplated digging around the backyard, maybe if the shed, to see if a body was buried there. I didn't know what to believe, so I decided to just forget about it, and on the day we moved out, a few years later, I think I was 16, all of our stuff was out of the house, and I was so exhausted from moving all the stuff all day that I fell asleep on the floor in what used to be my bedroom. I had a dream of a little girl trying to talk to me, and I couldn't see her. I could barely make out what she was saying, but she seemed desperate, and she kept trying to talk to me. It seemed like it was real, but then again, it had to be a dream, right? Well, who knows? That's terrible, terrible, terrible stuff. Good story, though. Got a call, though. Let's see who's calling us now. This is area code 530. You're on the show.
Hey, how you doing? It's Sage.
Hey, Sage. How you doing? I'm good, thank you. Thank you for calling in. What's going on tonight?
So in the chat, there's questions about trees,
okay,
which my near-death experience or my death actual experience is surrounded by trees, and so Beth asked for me to call.
Oh, cool.
Is that good? Everybody cool in the chat with that?
Everybody's perfectly good with that.
Okay, good. So I have what's called Arnold-Chiari malformation, which is a malformation in my cerebellum, and it comes from Agent Orange.
Oh.
And so I'm second generation of Agent Orange.
Okay.
And so I got diagnosed on Friday the 13th
Oh, geez.
of this rare disease. I had no idea what it was. I'm actually on my 10-year anniversary this month of surviving. And I got a diagnosis of not surviving this brain surgery that no one had ever heard of. And I had to travel out of state to get it done. And it was pretty much, I either had it done because my malformation was so bad that I was going to have it done, or I was going to die, end up in a wheelchair, and I was going to die.
Oh.
And so I went in and had my brain surgery in my 30s.
Wow.
And I had already been quite ill after a lot of negative after a UFO encounter, after being completely attacked negatively multiple times. And I really think that has some to do with my awakening. As I said, there are multiple awakenings.
Sure.
And I was working full time. I had a ton of friends, rallied consistent, was a part of everything in life, nonstop mom, everything.
Right.
And my whole life came to a halt. Couldn't work, couldn't do anything, nothing at all. And so when I went in for my brain surgery, I died, and I went to this other place, and I was halfway in a creek, and I was halfway not, and it felt more real than this place. It felt like I had woken up.
Oh, wow.
And the trees were different. They felt alive. And people that were in my life came in, and my body was in the water, but then I was also not in the water. And I was going up, and I was hugging them, and I was saying goodbye. And only certain people came in and said goodbye to me. And there was a woman that sat on the rock, and she wore a yellow dress, and I can't remember her face, but she was very beautiful. And there was, after the people stopped coming in, and some of them were family members, and some of them weren't, and some of them were very, very dear friends of mine. And she told me I had to go back, that I wasn't done. And I remember this very clearly. And I said, no, no. And she said, yes. And I said, no, no. And I remember putting my hand in the water and feeling the moss. And it was a very clear, interesting creek. It had 2 planets in the sky. The sky was more of like a bluish purple. Oddly enough, Grant Cameron is on my messenger, and I tried to offer him this story, and he refused to reach out to me.
Oh, well, he just doesn't have good taste, that's all.
So I told him that I'll go somewhere else.
Good for you.
I've also had Bob Woods, who is the chief of MUFON, after my near-death experience, that he interviewed me in my home for 3 years, and I didn't even know who he was until this year. So,
wow.
Yeah, I didn't, and he knows all this stuff, and then everyone just clammed up and left me alone. So I'm telling you this, so congratulations, Brett. I don't know what it means.
Right.
So I came back, and all the people that I had said goodbye to, I started drawing these trees, and none of them look the same, and I can send them to you. And I started connecting to the person's soul, like to their aura, but I could see past that. I could see the beginning and where they were headed towards.
Okay.
Kind of like reading tarot, but different,
Right.
And some people I didn't want to draw their trees because I felt like I was invasive. They were too close to me.
Oh, okay.
And some of it, just flowed, and I would give it to them as gifts.
Oh,
And
cool.
And the art and some art I couldn't do, like I look back and trying to do a card, it looks like a kindergartner. But these trees are, I'll send them so you can look at them, and
Please.
Everybody can see my trees, and they're very unique. And then oddly enough, afterwards, everybody started, seeing the tree of life everywhere. But this was 10 years ago when none of these were out.
Oh, cool.
I don't understand that. But they're very weird and whimsical. And I had this really odd sense of serenity when I came out. I was in a huge amount of pain.
Right.
And it took me a huge amount to heal, and I'm not healed yet at all. I'm just, I'm terminal, and I have Agent Orange in me. So, Thanks,
Right.
Monsanto.
Right.
But I came back with this serenity of wanting to help people, and that's been this tug at me ever since.
Oh.
And everybody that came in and I gave a hug to, they're no longer in my life.
Oh.
They left within that year.
Wow. So it was very symbolic.
They all told me they couldn't handle it.
Wow. Oh. Well, it's their loss, you know. Unfortunately, some people can't grow with us as we are on our journey, you know.
Oh, well, and I was able to say goodbye, but it almost confirms, you know, that people are come into your life for a reason, and you kind of have it set up.
Right.
You know, you kind of, but the tree symbolicness, I really, they're the wise ones. They're,
Mm-hmm.
you know, if you listen, they'll talk. You know,
Right.
the Amazon rainforest is on fire, and we can all feel it. You know, like this is, you know, trees are very, very symbolic to people that are grounded and are aware.
They're very.
I've never heard of anyone else have a near-death experience with trees, but that was it wasn't the woman sitting on the rock. It was the trees around me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think trees are very much sentient, and I feel a real strong affinity towards them. I have my whole life, but
Yeah.
I wrote a book, and I haven't quite published it yet. I'm working towards that, but in my book I talk about the need to be centered, you know, and the need for us to be centered. And one of the visual exercises that I offer in the book is to be the tree. So, in other words, encompass that experience.
Sorry.
Encompass that experience of the tree. Feel it. Become
Being
one
the
with
roots.
it. Feeling the roots, the moist soil around your toes as the roots, the firmness of the trunk, the leaves growing off of your appendages, and the things that live upon you, like birds and ants, and you know, all this magic, and the way the wind blows through, and how does it feel, and it's just a manner of getting focused and centered, but it stems from my affinity to the trees. The trees, I think, are important.
Absolutely.
And I've had many people come back after they've read that. I've let several people read the book, and they're like, you know, that part, really, I didn't get it. But then one time I was outside, this one person said, one time I was outside, I tried, didn't get it. And they said, I was out on the golf course, and I was looking across the fairway, and there was a beautiful willow blowing in the wind, and I did it. And all of a sudden we were connected. We were just connected, and I could feel what that tree was feeling, and I could feel that we were just joined. And she said it was one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. So
I feel like the weeping willow is kind of like the violin.
Yeah.
You can't help but it not have it pull you in. Like that's what I feel like in the weeping willow. You know, like you can't, anyone that dismisses them, it's like they can't even look at themselves in the mirror. You know, they have that, you know, they can't see that beauty that's so incredibly beautiful. You want to cry over it.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like they're weeping.
Yeah.
You know, like it's almost like they weep for us, and we should be weeping for them.
Yeah.
But that's how I ground, and I teach anyone who comes and asks. I start with the roots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then
you
go
know
up.
that's and
very cool.
No one taught me.
Right. Yeah.
No one has ever taught me. And I just want to make that clear. I've not read any books. No one's taught me anything. And I've been thinking about this a lot, and I want to say thank you so much, because I've gone through and I've listened to so many different chats, and there's always either judgment or pettiness or just, you know, like underground meanness, and I haven't felt that at all in your chat. And even when you read the stories, there's no judgment, and I think that's just such a beautiful blessing that you have and you're giving, and that everyone in the chat's giving. And I just want to just give my thanks to everyone, because it's really hard to go through this alone, and when you find something like this, it's very special. So thank you so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure, and it's our pleasure. I know we've got a really amazing community here, and it's really a family. I mean, And it's happened.
Yeah.
It's happened despite me. I wish I could take credit for that, but all of these wonderful people in the chat room have found this show, and they've made it their own. And it's just and they don't do the pettiness. They don't do the childishness. It's just the
Right.
most cool community. And like I said, I wish I could take credit for it, but you know, they've just all become a part of my family, as have you now. So I'm the one that's
Right.
thankful.
Well, I want to thank everyone for welcoming me into your family. So thank you, and I love you all, and I don't want to take up anyone else's time, but
it's fine.
thank you, and I love you, and I really hope that you guys all have a great night.
All right, we love you too, and thank you so much for being a part of the shows. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Brett. Bye.
All right, good night. That is so cool, and we do have the greatest community in this show. There's no question. Well, you know, thank you, Cha Cha. That's sweet, and I hope that I've been instrumental in forming that. But I mean, honest to God, you guys, all in your own way, have made your way here. I don't know, you know, I don't advertise the show. I never have. I've never run an ad for the show other than just on Facebook and you know and such. So you guys found it somehow, and it's like we're all pulled together for some reason, and it's just become this really amazing family, and I'm absolutely honored to be a part of it. You know, but thank you. Yeah, exactly. It is destiny. It's a destiny for sure. But we're meant to be together, you guys. So thank you so much for being here every time. It's just humbling as hell. I don't know if as hell was a good word to use there, but you know what I'm saying. It just feels so humbling that you know, all of you amazing people have made the portal yours as well as mine. So, thank you. I appreciate that, Beth. I don't know. Beth says you're a very empathetic human being. You draw people to you, and I'm honored if that's the case. I really am. I don't know that I'm doing it. I don't willfully hope to suck people in. I mean, I want the show to be successful, of course. I like to live a more comfortable life, you know, and it's just I love doing this. I love doing the show. It's just become such a important part of my everyday. So, but you know, a big part of that, guys, it's you. It's all you guys. If I was doing this show every day and just had to, I mean, I don't mean to say that I need big numbers to feel happy, but if I didn't see all of you guys here and I had a different chat room full of the catty stupidness, I wouldn't want to do the show. I wouldn't want to log in and start every show knowing that I'm going to have to deal with all this stupid drama, you know. You guys have made it amazing, so I thank you for that. So we got a great family. That's all there is to it. I think we're meant to be somehow. And I'm thrilled to be a part of it with all of you all. So the next story I'm going to read. Oh, we got another show or another call. I think this is Dee. How you doing, Dee?
Hey, it is Dee Swagger. Hi. It is
sure
Ocean Diana. Hi.
It is you.
Whoever you know me by.
How are you tonight?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm great. I wanted to comment. It's kind of interesting. Sage is another NDE
Yes.
Experiencer, and I had something similar. It's really interesting.
Oh, cool.
Because Sage feels like another sister.
Yeah, she does. She fits
another
right in.
one of my sisters out there.
Yep.
Because I started drawing pictures of trees too.
Oh, did
I
you?
drew a picture of myself as a tree.
Oh, cool.
And when I doodle, it's mostly trees.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this meditation that I did online for a while for people in one of these chats, one of these 3D chat things that was a tree meditation.
Oh, cool.
So what is this? And I'm thinking, well, we know that the tree spirits are called dryads.
Sure.
That is what they've been anciently called.
Right.
And so people know they exist. I mean, they're a known thing. So this is nothing new. This is one of the reasons why I want to go to where the really big trees are. I think they know a lot. I mean, if we could communicate with the giant redwoods,
Oh, yeah.
If I had time to do that, what would they know? What would they be able to tell us?
Right.
You know, if we
What if,
somehow, you know, because they've been around for, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years now.
sure.
And the oldest living things on the planet, what could they tell us?
Right. That's
So,
amazing to think
one
about.
day I want to go there
Yeah, me
and
too.
ask them.
Yeah, me too. Actually, it's
And,
on my bucket list too, D, is to go to the Redwoods. That's one of my bucket list items. And I'm not that far away, but I haven't got there yet.
Well, I think we'd be a little bit closer if we were. I'm not sure. I wanted to kind of live out there, but I don't know if that's really possible.
Oh.
I hear that it's kind of crazy.
Okay. Well, maybe it is. Hello? D? Hello?
Are you still there? Or are we having trouble again?
Nope, you just, now I'm here again. I can hear you fine now. It's just you all of a sudden were muffled.
Okay, it's just wavy gravy, maybe. Signal.
Gravy.
I
Wavy
don't know.
gravy. All right. Are you congested tonight?
Anyway.
Are you dealing with allergies or something?
What?
Are you congested tonight?
No, I'm just I'm lying down and putting my feet up. I'm sorry.
Oh, no,
if I'm not being clear, I'll sit up and
No, you're fine.
try to be more clear.
It's just you do sound different tonight. I just thought maybe you were having allergies or a cold or something. But if you're just sitting down and elevating.
Well, a little bit.
Okay.
I am having a little bit. It's starting to be my season again.
Oh.
A little bit of that. But the tree thing, you know, it's interesting because trees are so wise. I have heard this from many, many people that they hear, you know, they find themselves having a conversation. They're wondering who they're having the conversation with. And, you know, it's all like all of a sudden they realize they're having a conversation with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
This is how a lot of times the conversations with trees happen. You're out in nature, you're sitting near a tree, and you're thinking, and then you're answering and you're talking, and you find out you're having a conversation, and you realize at some point, wait a minute, who am I talking to?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times people realize they're talking to a tree.
Sure, yeah.
I've heard this over and over again.
Yeah, there's magic in the world. There's still magic out there.
And they're very wise and they're very understanding. Like one of my friends said, she worried she ended up talking to a tree that was in her backyard, and they'd used it to put up clothesline, and they pounded, you know, nails in it to put stuff up, and they'd done stuff. And she said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize, you know, at the time that we were doing all that." And the tree was just very, "Oh, it's okay. I don't mind helping your family. It didn't really hurt. You know, it was okay. It's okay."
Good.
Yeah, she was just having this conversation with this tree, apologizing to it.
Sure, right.
Does this sound crazy? It's like, well, not to me. I don't know if I'd tell everybody, but,
Yeah.
you know, to me it sounds normal.
Sure.
Because this is what my friends are like, right?
Right.
So I can kind of tell you're a countryman of mine if you do this crazy kind of stuff like talk to trees and plants and rocks.
Right.
I mean, somebody said, "You know what, you're just way too cute. I heard you tell a rock that you were really sorry you couldn't take it home."
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Did I really do that?"
Well, that's good. You've got a bright light. You've got a bright light, Dee, and thank you so much for calling in. It's always a pleasure to hear from you.
I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
All right, good night. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss D for Diane Swiger is a longtime friend of the show, and she's got her phones working now, so we'll be hearing from her again. That's nice to hear from her. All right, so we got about 8 minutes left. I'm going to read this next one, and I guess that'll do it for the show. So this one's coming out of California. After a crazy experience last week that left me quite shaken up, I came home to some more ghostly stuff. Blah, 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 blah. A lot of fluffy stuff here. After I got home a few days ago, I just wanted to relax, kick my feet up, watch some television, put my new Harley together, etc. I wouldn't be so lucky. The minute I stepped in the door, I was annoyed. Our little ghost girl was up to no good while we were away. All the lights were turned on, the taps were running, and the TV was on. I wasn't worried about the ghost so much as how retarded my bills were for the month were going to be. An entire month of electricity and water bills all crammed into a week. Ugh. I went around and turned off the taps and all the lights, and I was just about to sit down when my brother called me from his room upstairs. I went to go see what was wrong, and his walls were covered with marker. Colorful scribbles all over the walls. I couldn't help but laugh. Jerry said it was like having a child of our own. Chris just stood there, arms crossed, which made me laugh even harder because he looked so pissed. And after we finished making fun of Chris and how the little girl made his room all pretty, we finally got to sit down and relax. We ordered a few movies on pay-per-view and had some snacks and went to bed. The next morning I got up early to get the engine mounted onto the frame of my Harley, and when I came downstairs I noticed the little pink ball sitting right next to my shoes. I smiled as I put on my shoes and I said, "Not today, sorry." I was working on my bike for a good 30 minutes or so, and I ran inside for a beer. I went inside, and Chris said he was going to come join me. He had to do some transmission repairs on his car, and when we got back into the garage, the pink ball was sitting on top of Chris's toolbox. I chuckled and said, "Go kick the ball into the yard." And I knew all the little girl wanted was someone to play with. Chris just looked at me. I said, "Seriously, man, go kick it." I said, and Chris went out, took the ball into the yard, mumbling something under his breath, and we continued working pretty much all morning, and we decided to take a trip downtown for some shopping. We got all cleaned up, and I realized I left my keys in the toolbox. And sure enough, when I went into the garage, the pink ball was right on my bike. Or right by my bike, rather. I sat down on my stool and told the little girl that she can't stay here anymore. I told her that Jesus doesn't want any of his children to be trapped here on earth, and he wants them to live an eternal life up in heaven. I also mentioned that if she asked for forgiveness for any sins, then she would be free. Before leaving, I also told her that she would be loved and missed by our family, but never forgotten. We haven't noticed any change that she has crossed over yet. However, the toilet did not flush spontaneously at 6 o'clock last night, like it usually does every night. And I'll admit, we were all a little sad. Huh. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. They've got their own ghost girl. Or so they think. Now, it may not actually be a girl or a ghost. It might be something else. But I've been up that road many times here on the show, and if you've watched it all, you know how I feel about ghost children. I've had a few stories about them tonight, though. Maybe they're out there. I'm not saying they're not, but I think there's also other things that pretend to be children just to get people to open up and let their guards down. But anyway, I guess that's going to wrap it up for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of the shows. Again, all you in chat, you are amazing. Thank you so much. All you out there listening that aren't chatting, you're amazing too. Thank you guys so much for being a part of the Paranormal Portal and helping to make it amazing. Just amazing. That's the word tonight. Amazing. Everything's amazing. So I'm going to get back to work on the podcast for tomorrow's show, but keep watching YouTube. Look for a little teaser. I'll post up in a little bit just so it kind of gets to all of our YouTube audience that, hey, we got a podcast. Hope you'll check it out. I think some people are. Many people are. That goes without saying, but maybe it'll help drum up some interest. But anyway, guys, love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. I love you all. Have a great night, and have a fantastic Monday. Just make it fantastic. All right, guys. Good night. Sweet dreams.